Hello, I'm Harry. I'm the events assistant apprentice at Artswork, and I'm here with Jane and Louise. Jane is our outgoing CEO. She's been working here for an amazing 10 years, and Louise is our incoming CEO, who has just been working at the National Trust in various few places, including the wonderful Mottis Font near Romsey. So, Louise, I'm going to start with you, if that's okay. Just if you could give us a bit of an overview of what your background is, what you enjoy doing, who you are as a person, what your hobbies, interests, passions, and a little bit about your work as well with National Trust. That would be amazing.
Sure. So, well, it's lovely to be here. It's lovely to see you both. I'm really pleased to be to have joined Artswork as the incoming CEO. I'm passionate about children and young people and giving them the opportunity to be creative, to get involved in the arts and culture. I've seen firsthand what a difference it can make to them and to their families, and I just want to be part of this work going forwards. So actually, I suppose this whole area is something that I've always been involved in one way or another, sometimes on the edges, sometimes right in the middle. So I started my professional career with the Art Fund, actually working in publications, but then moved from that into higher education, where I was studying art history and teaching. And so I started to teach then, and actually I was teaching children and young people as well as the students at the university where I worked. And really loved that work, but wanted to work more with a wide range of people and not be doing something quite so academic, but stuff that was really to do with engaging people in arts and culture more directly. So when the opportunity came up to join the National Gallery's learning team, I jumped at it and had a fantastic 8 years there, working with all sorts of different ages, working with community groups. And then particularly when I was head of adult learning there, looking at how you could work with different creative practitioners, dancers, poets, visual artists, all sorts of different ways to engage with the art that we had in the gallery, but to make a creative response yourself. And that was just wonderful. And towards the end of that time there, I had the opportunity to do a brilliant thing called the Claw Leadership Programme, where basically you are funded to spend time with other people from the cultural sector, very different walks of life, in a sort of cultural Big Brother house, and then go on lots of courses and just go and be curious and find out how people do things in other parts of the cultural sector, which was absolutely fantastic. And I came out of that wanting a challenge and actually wanting to do something that was a little bit more commercial as well, because I think if we can generate some income to do the work that we want to do, then that gives us all kinds of possibilities to be even more making an impact with children and young people. So I joined the National Trust because that's something that they do very well, and had a fantastic decade with them, growing particularly the activities at Mottis Font, where we brought in arts programs and cultural programs and family programs, but also working with the landscape and working outside and doing lots of conservation work there as well. So yeah, that's really my professional background. I guess personally, I am quite a creative person, and I like to make, I like to draw and to make, to knit, to sew. I'm quite bad at making sculpture, but I like doing it anyway. And then I love to sing, so I sing quite a bit in my spare time and really enjoy that. And yeah, I'm just full of excitement at the work that we've got ahead of us.
Brilliant. And I'm sure, Jane is also a singer, so that makes two of you, which is really cool. So you talked about the arts and family programs a little bit there at Mottis Font. Could you just give us a bit more detail on those? What were they like? How did they improve the experience at Mottis Font, and what was really special about them?
Sure. Well, Montesfont has a really interesting house. It's a funny old house. It's made out of a church, a medieval priory that's still in the middle of the house. But it's not one of those places that you go and it's got the most incredible collection of anything in particular, small art collection. But what it has is a story about art. It had the last owner used to bring artists there for wonderful weekends, and people made work there in response to the surroundings. So there are all kinds of little hidden mosaics and things that are there. And we decided that we would take that story and use that as a springboard to use some unused rooms on the top floor, which had nothing in them. And really, there was not much of a reason to keep coming back to Montesfont outside of the lovely rose season. The roses just bloom for about 3 weeks of the year, and the rest of the year it was quite quiet. So we thought we could take that story of art and open up an art gallery and start an artist residence program, and really make that arts and culture a kind of bedrock and a centerpiece for inviting more people in. We had lots more room to welcome people. And so that became then, the arts program became the way for saying, well, actually come and have a go, do something, try a workshop, see an exhibition, go on a creative trail, do something creative and fun and sometimes quite silly with your family, but just enjoy being together, making and talking and exploring. And that really was at the heart of work that in the end meant that we more than trebled the visitor numbers to Montesfont, which all of which was free if you were a member, or once you'd got in. We were able to give access free to communities who just got in touch with us. And allow totally free access, but because a lot of those people were happy to buy an ice cream or you know, have a cream tea, that actually generated enough income for us to really be able to expand our programs and do more conservation and access work elsewhere. So it was at the beginning, I think people would have said, oh, arts and culture are a bit elitist, that people aren't going to be interested enough. And actually that wasn't our experience at all. People loved to come together. They wanted to be creative. They wanted to see something different and to be thinking about something different and to do, because doing and making make us feel good. And so that really helped to grow that property so that it's now one of the busiest and most well visited properties in the whole of the National Trust.
Fantastic. And it sounds like it was a really good initiative to get people to think about the space they were in slightly differently and maybe do something that they wouldn't do normally, and you know, be creative and then really enjoy the space that they're in. So that sounds amazing. Jane, I'll come to you now. So you've been CEO at Artswork for an amazing 10 years, and it's fair to say Artswork's changed quite a lot in that time. Could you just detail a little bit for us about what's gone on in your Artswork journey, and how has Artswork grown, and what have you really enjoyed being able to do at your time here?
Gosh, that's an interesting set of questions. I mean, I've had the pleasure of knowing Artswork for almost all of its 34 years. And actually, it's over the last 10 years, it's continued to stay absolutely focused on its mission, which is to put arts creativity at the heart of work with children and young people, and to make a difference to the lives and education of children and young people through arts and creativity. And it's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege to come into Artswork, which I did way back in 2010, and to carry on the journey that Artswork had a really solid foundation from which to build. We were a relatively small team in 2010, but punching as ever above the weight of that small team. And I think there were 6 or 7 of us, and we were, however, engaging a further almost 100 young people through the Future Jobs Fund programme, which we were working with partners across the East Midlands and the South East, giving employment opportunities to young people. So you can see from that that although we had a core staff team of 6 or 7 staff, actually we had a much wider engagement through young people, and that's really been the essence of Artswork's work, and why it's always been a privilege. Our budget was about a quarter, a third of what it is now, and really in 2011 we had the opportunity to bid to the Arts Council, who've always been very supportive of Artswork over the years, but we had an opportunity to bid to the Arts Council to become one of 10 bridge organisations across England, and that bid was successful. And since then, we have delivered that role, which is a strategic role, while maintaining our commitment to grassroots work directly with children and young people through our wider programmes. And I think that balance of strategy informed by direct delivery has continued to ensure that Artswork's practice is embedded and informed by children and young people with whom we work directly. And that's been an immense privilege, I think, and a joy.
Right. So is there any area of work that you've particularly enjoyed or has made you feel particularly grateful for your job role, or has been really inspirational for you over these 10 years?
Well, those people that have worked with me over the last 10 years will probably know I'm in an almost permanent state of excitement. Little things excite me, big things excite me, and that's been one of the joys of the work. It's certainly never been dull, and always inspired by the achievements of children and young people. We work with some amazing partners, and that's from individual practitioners to cultural organisations to schools, some amazing head teachers and teachers who continue to hold the candle for the importance of culture and creativity in the education and lives of children and young people. And I think I've been continually inspired by the inspiration and innovation of those partners and of children and young people themselves. And we've been very fortunate to have benefited from the support of some amazing stakeholders over the years as well, not least Arts Council England, who've been a continuous pleasure to work with over that period of time as well, and hopefully long into the future. I think what I've particularly enjoyed is the individual journeys of children and young people themselves, which cumulatively make an amazing context for Artswork's work. But those individual journeys, whether that's through our wider programmes or indeed through our strategic bridge work, and the way that partnerships have facilitated those individual children and young people to thrive and grow and develop leadership skills and their sense of self, I think that's been a tremendous privilege.
Absolutely. There's a lot of inspiring work going on at Artswork through all of our different programs. But Louise, was there anything in particular that drew you to Artswork and wanting to come and work here?
Well, obviously I knew about Artswork, particularly from some of the residency programs that we'd run, and just the role of Artswork in the local arts ecology around Southampton. But actually the website was the thing that really, when I went and looked at the website, because I'd heard that Jane was stepping back and that her role was going to be available, the website just blew me away, because there were so many stories of hope and transformation, and it was just wonderful. And I just couldn't, once I'd seen some of the material was there and some of the difference that had been made, particularly in the last few years, it just was, no, I really hope I could be a part of this. And went forward with my fingers crossed, hoping that it might work and I might be able to join the team.
Louise, how do you see yourself taking Artswork forward, and is there anything that you're particularly looking forward to doing within, let's say, the next year, in your first year of being CEO at Artswork?
Well, I'm still finding out. There's a great deal to learn. I'm very lucky in that I've had this fantastic handover period with Jane, but I'm still finding out about all the detail of the different things that Artswork is doing. But I would say I'm most looking forward to starting to plot what our next steps are going to be, because there's so much need out there at the moment. I think we're in just such extraordinary times, and I really, really feel for children and young people at the moment. I mean, it's great. At the time that we're speaking, the schools have just reopened, but already, you know, we can see that there are, I've got a friend whose daughter is now going to have to self-isolate for 2 weeks because there is COVID in their school. And so there are so many challenges around what's happening at the moment, and I feel sure that Artswork can continue to have an impact in the way that it has had an impact so far, but also that there will be other ways that we can help. And so I'm just really keen to find out from staff and from our stakeholders and our partners that we work with about the ways that we can make even more of a difference going forwards. I think we've never been more needed.
So, Jane, finally coming to you, have you got any particular fond memories from your time at Artswork, or any that hold a special place in your heart?
Oh gosh, that's a big question, Harry, because there are so many. There are so many, and that's what's made me feel particularly privileged over the last 10 years to have this job. I think I talked earlier about the cumulative moments of individual changes. And I'm going to describe one or two individual changes that together make such a fantastic body of work. I particularly remember a young man that was participating in an arts and mental health program. So it was a program that was designed to facilitate young people to find out a little bit more about themselves, build their confidence and self-esteem and aspiration. And this particular young man had been working with a number of arts practitioners for a number of weeks. And he started to grow his voice through writing. And he began to put his words into poetry. And I went to the celebration of that work, and he was able to stand up in front of an audience and share his writing that expressed so much of his experience of his mental health challenges. And I felt it was a very special moment. It was very exposing for him, because he was sharing his own life experience, and he was speaking about it in public through creativity, and that was really special. I think another memory I have is about the mutual support a group of young people gave to each other, and they were working on one of our programs in Portsmouth, and it's a program that targets young people who are in care or leaving care, and they work together to design, develop, and create a wonderful mural in Portsmouth Guildhall. And what I observed was that the mutual support they gave to each other in that programme, but also their immense sense of self-awareness, self-esteem and achievement that they had through that joint programme. You know, and this is what the arts and creativity can do, and I've seen so many of those kinds of changes and transformation over the years. And I think we have to appreciate not only the short-term impact that has on young people, but also the long-term change that can bring to their lives, and that's what Artswork's about, really.
Definitely, those are some really really precious memories there. Some really inspirational things that have been going on in your 10 years at Artswork, and it's a shame that you're leaving us. It's been a privilege to be here at the same time as you, even only if for a short while, but at the same time, it's an exciting time for Artswork as we go forward now under Louise's leadership.
Absolutely, and I'm really confident that we couldn't have appointed a better person than Louise to take Artswork forward for the next 10 years.